Hi, in the last tutorial, we saw how to create this bottle shape using the revolve feature. So in this video, I'm going to show you a different way of doing the same thing. That reason being because in Solidworks, there are often many different ways to do the same thing. So I'm going to go back to our sketch here, and I'm going to get rid of our feature. So I'm going to right click here on revolve, and I'm just going to hit delete, and it's going to bring up this window that's going to ask me if I want to delete the revolve, and so I'm going to hit yes to that, and it just leaves us with our sketch. So what I'm going to show you here is a way to create this shape, as I mentioned, with a different feature other than revolve, and that feature is going to be the loft. So let's get started. Now see, the way that we did the revolve was we we took this closed shape and revolved it around this axis here. Now the way I'm going to show you with the loft is going to be by creating a bunch of rings and circles here that we're going to use as a sort of extrusion with this profile. So the first step, of course, is to create our first ring. And our first ring is going to be right here. It's going to be on the top plane which we created the part on. So I'm going to create a sketch on this plane, and I'm going to make a ring with its center on the axis on the origin, and I'm going to click on this point here, and so that relationship is locked in place now. So that's our first one. To create the next one is going to be a little bit more difficult, and it's going to use something that we haven't gone over yet. So we created this part, or this sketch, really on the right plane, except we started it on the origin, and because of the fact that we started this sketch on the origin, creating this circle on the top plane was intersecting the sketch. So the sketch that was originally created on the right plane is intersecting the top plane. If I create another circle that I want to put here, you're going to see that it's not where I want it to be. I want it to be here. I don't want it to be at the bottom. So I need to create another plane. And that's something that, like I mentioned, we haven't gone over that yet. So let me exit the sketch, and let me go over here to reference geometry, and I'm going to click on it and go to plane. It's the first thing. I'm going to select that, and now SolidWorks is asking for some references. So let me go back to the tree. I'm going to click the top plane because we're basing it. We're gonna have it come off of the top plane. That's our first reference. So you can see that's the first reference. And the second reference I want to make is this point. So I'm going to click on it. And as you can see, the plane is exactly where we want it to be now. It's parallel with the top plane, and it's also coincident with this point. So those two relations have fully defined, as you can see up here. It says the message fully defined. They fully define this plane. So this is good. I'm going to hit OK. Now plane 1 has been made. I'm going to click on it, and you could actually see you don't even have to right click here to hit start sketch. If you click on it, it gives you this little window, and you could start a sketch right from here. I'm going to do that. So as you can see, I can come over here, pull out a circle again, click on the origin that's projected, and click, of course, on that point. So as you can see, this is we're going to be building these rings, and they're going to continue to build up until the top, and then we're going to be able to create our shape that way instead of using the revolve. I'm going to do this a few more times now. Now, when I create the third, or I should say the second plane, I'm not going to start from here. Reason being, because the right way, the best way to create the planes is really from the origin. You should always start planes from the origin if you can. You don't want to start planes from here, because if I move this plane in the future, then it could affect the next plane made after it, possibly, depending on how they're constrained. So I'm just going to start my plane from the top, and let me just go over how to do that in case it wasn't easy to understand. You click on the top plane, come here, click on plane, and now it's made off of the top plane. So I'm going to set the next reference to be this point, and I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to do this 2 more times. So I'm going to click on plane, top plane, here's my reference, OK, and one more time. Plane, it's my reference. So I need to create my sketches here. So, and by the way, you can see here the tree, the feature manager tree, it shows you the sketches and it shows you the planes, and it's all in order. So, you know, I can move this sketch here to the bottom if I want, and then I can move it all the way back up. And what that is it's what it's showing you is the order in which everything is actually made. So the next thing I want to do is I want to create a sketch on this plane, this one right here. This is plane 2. That's where I'm going to make the next ring. So I'm going to start a sketch on there, and I'm going to come over here and create a circle, and it's going to be automatically touching that point. See, it's black, it's fully defined. And I'm going to do that a few more times here. So I'm going to exit the sketch. Now see, I could go and move this sketch 4 to here in front of plane 2. Now, right after plane 2 is created, that's when the sketch is made. And, you know, it may seem a little bit arbitrary to have the sketches right after the planes, but when you have a feature manager tree that's just full of features and this whole thing is filled in, it's great to have a little bit of organization there. So I'm going to do that for the other 2 as well. Let me create a sketch here. I'm going to come over here, click on this center point, and I'm going to select here and hit OK. And I'm going to do one more for the top. I'm going to exit this, bring this up to here. Then I'm going to make one more. And create this. Oh. I'm going to click there. And that just about does it. So I'm going to save, which is always important. You know, this software can crash. That's something that happens from time to time, unfortunately. So as you can see, we have our side profile here, and it's being intersected by these rings. Now I'm going to go into this sketch, and I'm going to, just for the moment, I'm going to make these 2 lines construction lines, and that's just to be sure that the software doesn't pick up this horizontal line here as being part of our loft, and it doesn't pick up this line here as being part of the loft either. And you'll see what I mean in a moment as I try to make the feature work. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to work. There's a possibility that the feature can fail, but we're going to have to try it and see if it works. So I'm going to select all my profiles. That's the first thing to select, all these rings. And you're going to see that the software actually creates the the shape that it thinks it is before you click here on this box. And now we're going to select the guide curve. The guide curve is our first sketch. That's the one of the profile we made. So I'm going to select an open loop. I'm going to click on here, and if I'm going to hit OK, and you could actually see that it's following this shape. You could actually see that it's not following the shape on the other side. So that's something that is an issue that we're going to have to address. So you can actually see there are a couple more options here. If you change them, if you change the options normal to profile, then you can get different results. Like if I change the angle here, you could see this is coming in here on the right. That has to do with the angle at which the loft is being created um, when you're basing it off of this angle of this arrow. So this is a problem that we ran into, is we want this side to look like the left side. So I'm going to actually cancel out of here, and I'm going to go back to this sketch, and I'm going to mirror these lines over to the other side. So I'm going to mirror these entities here, and I'm going to mirror it about this line and hit OK. Okay, so now we have two different guide curves. So let's see if this changes anything with our lofted boss base. If I click on the rings, I'm going to click on them again. I have my ring selected. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on my two guide curves. So this is one of them. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to select this open curve now. I'm going to hit OK. And as you can see, this is the result that we want. Now, if you look closely, you can see that this is actually not perfectly round. The two guide curves here are what's pulling and what's influencing the shape. So if I hit OK, it's going to create this loft. Now the shape, if you look at it from the top, as I mentioned before, it's not really a circle. Or actually, the top shape is, but this outside shape, it doesn't seem like it's really measuring up to be a circle. It looks like it's a little bit bulged on the outside, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to just create a sketch here on the top plane and put it on the origin, and we're gonna bring out a circle. If I can just bring out a circle here. I'm not sure why I'm experiencing this. Maybe let me try it from here. I'm not sure. Maybe if I start the sketch here. I just want to show the what it looks like on the outside based on a perfect circle. So as you could see, this shape is not perfectly circular. You could see that it's kind of inside of this outer ring. This is a perfect circle, so if I brought it into here, you could see it's actually cutting off part of the shape. So that's something that needs to be addressed. So I'm going to exit out of that sketch, and I'm actually going to delete this loft. We're going to head and delete that feature. What we want to do is we want to create this sketch here, and we want to make it on the other two profiles on the front plane. Right now they're on the right plane, but we want to have this on the front plane. So we're going to have to move that shape to there. So To do that, that's something that we can try to copy. That's one method of doing it. So I can come up here and I can select this whole thing, and I can just hit Control C on the keyboard, and I'm going to go to the right plane or the front plane, and I'm going to Control V or paste, and now I'm going to move all these entities by hitting Move Entities here. It's under the Sketch tab. So I'm going to make the start point this point here on the bottom. I'm going to move it over and click right on the origin. Always right on the origin. So as you can see, it's all in blue, and the reason is because it's not fully constrained. If I clicked on these 2 points, if I click on the ring and I click on this point, they're not connected. But this may still allow us to create exactly the shape that we want. So I'm going to try the loft one more time. I'm going to go up to the loft, click on my profiles again. So these. And I'm going to select my guide curves. And this is my last guide curve here. This is the fourth one, so I'm going to select OK. And as you could see, we now have 4 different guide curves selected. They're each on, 2 of them are on the front plane, and 2 of them are on the right plane, which intersect each other at 90-degree angles. I'm actually going to come up here and show them. So this is the right plane in orange, and this is the front plane, and as you can see, they intersect each other at a 90-degree angle, as I mentioned. So we have the 4 curves, and I'm going to come up here and hit OK, and you're going to see that that bottle shape now is a lot closer to what we want. Now, to make it perfectly circular, you have to come up here, and you can see it's actually bulging out. You may need to change it to be global, and that's going to make it a perfect circle. And that's how we do the bottle as a loft. Now, last step, as a finishing touch, I'm gonna shell this. So I'm gonna come up here, click on shell in the features, click on the top, make it 1 millimeter, and hit OK. And looks like we're done.